Jan,
Colin.
how's it going, man?
Yeah, it's going.
Feel like there's been a lot that's happened since our last video. So
Yeah, I mean, I guess a lot has happened, but it seems like not much has changed in a way, right?
true, yeah.
Um, Maybe a little bit
I mean,
worse.
definitely, I think the situation's been exacerbated a little bit. So really, that's the purpose of the video today, right? Like we got a ton of feedback from our community, both on Discord, in person, saying that like our Prismatic Evolutions video was very transparent and kind of gave everyone a little bit of insight as to like, okay, well, what is really going on, and providing it from a store perspective. You know, as transparent as we can be, we do value communication above all else, right? So
Yeah,
this is part of it.
for sure. And so, guys, we have our chief top shelf economist here with us. And really, man, like, what the heck is going on with these, political, economic, like, this landscape is just crazy. Why are we having tariffs on trading cards? That sounds crazy.
Yeah.
And what's the impact on consumers and local game stores? And yeah, man, can you like break this all down so that we can kind of wrap our head around this?
Yeah, it's funny. I have this conversation fairly frequently, although to have it in the context of TCGs and hobbies is kind of blowing my mind a little bit. The fact that I'm in this seat talking about this with the context of tariffs and trade wars and supply demand, it's just honestly, I don't envy the comment, just the regular collector player who's kind of caught up in and wound up in this situation. Because like, just to break it down for everyone, before we can take a look at what's specifically happening in our industry, we kind of have to take a little bit of a step back and see what's happening overall, right? So if anyone who has not been living under a rock has probably heard of the term trade war, tariffs, 51st state, annexing, etc., etc. And, Pokemon is now being affected. So usually people don't really care about these things until it affects them personally. And if you're watching this video, it's probably affecting you personally. So I think to first start off, it's like, well, what is a tariff? And simply put, a tariff is a tax or a fee that the country that's bringing the product in pays when they receive it. So I think for a regular consumer, think about it, sometimes when you order stuff from the States, you have to pay duties and taxes.
eBay, yeah.
eBay, stuff like that. And like sometimes you get charged duty and taxes, sometimes you don't. You don't really know how it works. Tariffs is effectively saying that, on this type of good, you have to pay a minimum 25% or whatever the government sets out. Now, answering your question, well, why like is Pokemon cards being tariffed? Like, this is crazy.
Pokemon Magic as well,
Pokemon
right?
Magic, board games, some board games,
Yeah.
right? But in order to answer that, you have to first understand, well, what is the US tariffing from Canada? So everyone knows in Canada we don't manufacture Pokemon cards, we don't manufacture Magic, but what we do manufacture and what we do have a lot of is natural resources. So when the US brings in like lumber, oil, steel, those are all things that they get tariffed on. And so that was what really made the headlines, because like everyone's like, oh, well, like lumber and steel don't affect us. But if the US gets natural resources from us, what do we get from the US?
Cards.
Cards, usually refined goods, right? Like they take the raw materials, they take that lumber, and they refine it, and then they make Pokemon cards. And and Pokemon cards is made out of paper, which is out of wood. I'm very, very much highly simplifying it, but it's just to kind of give you an idea. It's like, well, we can't tax them on lumber. We have all the lumber in the world. So what do we tariff them on? We tariff them on cards. And that's what brings us to the situation that we're in today.
Right, right. And it is just a current situation. It's been, you know, very fluid, and kind of seems like almost every day there was a different kind of decision made and a different landscape. So
Yeah.
what we know for certain for right now is that it's affecting trading card sets in Pokemon and Magic that are shipping right now into distribution, and that's Journey Together, and that's Tarkir Dragonstorm.
Yes.
Right? And this is obviously going to affect all stores, right? And you know, it's a tough situation for all of us, stores and consumers. And we wanted to kind of share more so our perspective and kind of what that means for us as a business and how we're kind of working through that. So, you know, first of all, everybody knows the situation already with supply in kind of the Pokemon world. You know, we're really barely getting any product. We don't have enough to satisfy our local community, let alone online community, and being able to put product online. And demand for Pokemon, it's only increasing, right? Like, we're getting into this back half of the Scarlet Violet generation. Typically that's where we see the best sets, so demand is only increasing, right? And you know, that's going to be true for all stores, right? And the way that we've been handling that is, first of all, we haven't put up pre-orders for Journey Together. Everybody knows that.
We didn't do it for the kind of second and third wave of releases for
correct.
Prismatic.
Yeah, we didn't do it for Prismatic. So.
But there's a reason, just to elaborate on that. You know, everyone saw, like, there's another retailer in the GTA that tossed up, you know, they kicked off a last minute pre-order online, and they had, like, I think over 10,000 people on their website, and it crashed it. But I can be pretty confident saying that of the 10,000, majority of them were probably bots.
Yeah, exactly. So that's one of the main reasons, is you put up pre-orders and it just creates a frenzy of people trying to get pre-orders as quickly as they can and try and secure some product. And you know, that can be a quite stressful situation. You know, you're just rushing on trying to order what you can, and this is evident through, like, retailers, even Pokemon. You can see how
I was on
quickly
Pokemon Center today. I was trying to get the EV Super Premium Collection, or whatever it was called, but you can't.
So it creates a frenzy. We have a bot situation, which that is kind of its own craziness that is pretty wild to be seen in the Pokemon world. And then the other reason is we really don't know exactly what we're getting until a few weeks out from release, which essentially it just kind of puts us at, okay, let's see what we get in hand, and we'll work with that and, you know, kind of distribute that as best as we can. And the way that we did that for the last few releases with Prismatic and Blooming Waters is through a lottery system, right? And just to kind of describe that a little bit, for, you know, we've been seeing a lot of new people coming through the store asking to get products, and we've been telling them about the lottery system. So let's kind of explain that just a little bit quickly. So what that is you essentially put your name into a pool of our customers that are looking to get product, and we will pick your name randomly, right, from this pool. And if you're selected, that essentially allows you to come and purchase product. And you know, we really like that. This is actually community feedback that we received. We really like this because it really kind of levels the playing field and gives everybody a fair chance to put their name in the hat and get product. You don't have to rush to that situation, like we explained, to the website to pre-order product. You don't have to come to the store an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours before we open on release day, line up to try and get products, right? And you know, a lot of people can't even really do that. Work, school, commitments, everybody's got a busy schedule. So yeah, this kind of just provides a fair way for everybody to get a chance
get
to
a decent shot, right?
Yeah.
And I really like the way you put it in saying that it levels the playing field, because, you know, I think a lot of these measures and solutions that we're coming up with on the fly, I'm not going to say that they're permanent solutions. I think what we're doing is we're adapting to the situation, and we're trying to make it as fair as possible, because I'll say right now to the community that if we put up all our pre-orders, or what we anticipate that we'll get from our suppliers as online pre-orders, 5% of you watching this video would probably actually get the product, because we had accidentally put a product in stock that we actually did not have in stock, and we had like 10K sales in like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And it was absolutely insane. And there's no way humanly possible that we spiked up like that just because people were happened to be browsing. We didn't even announce it in Discord because it was, again, a mistake. And I think it's an important point to highlight that, you know, and I've had these discussions with our community members in Discord, and, you know, if you're watching this video, if you're not in our Discord, highly recommend you to join it, because we are able to kind of elaborate even further and provide context and even start a conversation. Like Jan said, the idea of a lottery system actually came from Discord. It came from people's input. And we can't make everyone happy, but at the same time, we're just trying to make the most of a difficult situation. But I think to frame things into perspective, and, you know, as difficult it may be to swallow this pill, I think fact of the matter is there's a lot of shops in the industry that they are first and foremost a business, right? So putting something on pre-order, and whether you sell it to a scalper, a bot, or a genuine collector / player, versus doing a lottery system, which is, yeah, and we'll have Jan to thank, because he manually puts those lotteries together. He you know, sets up the survey, he sets up the questions, he really tries to tailor it for you guys. But we would be making the same amount of money if we just, you know, I'm not going to say lazy, but if we didn't care and we just toss it up on our website. Because if we sell 20K, 30K, 50K of Journey together, dollars are dollars.
Yeah, it's
right?
a bit of extra effort.
It is extra effort to kind of do it through a lottery system. So I think the point is to highlight that, you know, we're trying to do our best to kind of make this tough situation, because boxes are going like for crazy right now.
Yeah, and yeah,
and obviously for multiple reasons. Tariffs bump up everything by 25%. Demand is higher, probably higher than
demand's just been increasing, like I said, right? So yeah, there haven't been pre-orders for Journey Together. We'll continue to utilize that lottery system for really as long as we need to, and we'll come back to Journey Together. But there's also the Magic Tarkir set, which let's talk about that for a second. Some of you may not follow Magic, some of you may, but stick with us for a sec, because this is going to really provide some context onto the overall situation for us as a business. So for Magic, we actually are able to put up pre-orders because supply typically is not a constraint, right? Supply is never endless, and we do sell out of products, but for the most part, we're able to satisfy most of the demand for Magic products that we see come through our store, not just in person, but also online, right? We put out Magic online, just like any other product, no real limits or anything like that. And I say typically because there are going to be exceptions to that. Final Fantasy's coming. We know the crazy hype.
Although apparently no tariffs on that.
We don't know.
Because it's made in Japan.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well.
And Spider-Man, I think all this, but TBD.
And
don't quote me.
Nevertheless, the demand is going to be crazy, because
sure.
suppliers are already kind of saying like, hey, we can't give you those allocations as far in advance as we do for everything else, because everybody's just demanding so much. So there's Final Fantasy, there's Spider-Man, right? Like, and demand is going to be extremely elevated. So that's going to be a scenario where we also might have to utilize the lottery system for Magic. But again, for standard release, like Tarkir, you know, it's a good set, but it's not your, you know, it's not your release of the year. So for a standard set, we put up pre-orders, and, you know, we try to really sell as much product as we can, right? Like, no need to hold back. The product's available. We try to sell as much as we can.
Priced as competitively as we can be, as always.
Right. I mean, our clientele knows us as typically offering some of the best prices on the market, and Magic is no different from that. And to give you guys kind of some real insight, you know, for sealed new release product, margins that we're typically seeing is maybe 15, 20, sometimes 25%, right? But local gaming stores, you know, they're not out here making 50% plus on new releases. That's just not the reality of the situation, right?
If they're selling on at MSRP.
Right. If scalping is not an issue, and that's kind of, that's another story. But those are typical pretty margins. Those are typically the margins that we're working with, right? And so we put the set out on pre-order. We see tons of orders come through, and then all of a sudden, you get hit with this 25% tariff, where, you know, margins that, you know, we were content with, again, taking that 20-ish%, but now with the 25% tariff, that evaporates overnight, essentially, right?
Yeah, I mean, like, there's a bunch of pre-orders that, let's say they're coming out at a wash or a break even, and that's due in part to the fact that our pricing is so competitive that, you know, 25% increase, like based off of what Jan said, right? Like if our margins, and just for those who don't understand that term, margin is kind of the money you make after paying for the product yourself, right? So if you buy something for $50 and then you sell it for $65, it's not like the full $65 is just brand new money, because the $50 costs you to buy the deck or whatever it may be. So you made $15, that's your profit margin. So as soon as the tariffs are slapped, and we had the pre-order out on our website before we were notified of the tariffs on TCG.
Yep.
Again, as you may know, every other week it's like, oh, this is tariff, that's tariff, oh, it's not tariff, oh, it's delayed, oh, the situation's always changing. But I think in this situation, we were unfortunately kind of caught between a rock and a hard place. But what does that mean for the people who did pre-order?
Yeah, so for people that did pre-order, look, like, unless we're put in a situation where, you know, it's a real threat to our business, and this very well could be this kind of situation, if we can kind of weather the storm, we're going to put the community first. And if you put your pre-order in, you know, we're kind of going to take the hit on that end, and we're not canceling pre-orders. We're not chasing you for 25% more based on our cost, right? So that's actually, you know, one big benefit that we kind of want to emphasize in terms of putting pre-orders in place, right? If you pre-order with us, it's always been kind of our commitment that you're kind of locking in that price, because market price will also change as a set gets closer to release, right? You might have paid $60 for a deck, but now that's the best deck of that release.
Yeah,
and
spoilers get released and stuff like that.
Sometimes decks double in price in the market, right?
For Commander, for like Magic, for sure.
Yeah, right. But you lock in that price, and we've honored that. So that's what we intend to do.
Yeah, and really, like, that's our pre-order guarantee. Like, look, not going to name names, but I have seen other stores say that they're going to honor pre-orders, but I know for a fact that they didn't even release pre-orders. So it's a little bit of empty words, but like, that's a message that's not really going to anyone. Two, a lot of stores collect your money up front for pre-orders. Mm-hmm. We do not. When you pre-order with us, you pay $0.
Not even a deposit.
Not even a deposit, which is insane to me, but maybe it's something we should review. But for now, it's like, look, for the foreseeable future, we don't see that changing. A pre-order is your way to get product at the pre-ordered price. And we extenuating circumstances aside, if we can fulfill it, we will fulfill it at that price that you pre-ordered with. And that's really that's the top shelf quality that we kind of put ourselves out there. And we hope that what we're doing honestly holds our peers in the industry accountable, right? Like, it's getting out of hand, and people are kind of seeing where where the pieces fall at the end of the day.
Yeah. And look, in the long run, pre-orders are going to be a net win-win for both our customers and us as a business, right? Like, one thing I want our customers to understand is that when you pre-order product, and especially you pre-order early, it helps us to bring in the right amount of product, right? To give you an example with simple numbers, not even thinking about Journey Together, but a set that would typically go on pre-order, let's call Scarlet Violet base set, right? Nobody's too excited about base set. We put it up on our website, and let's just say we get 0 pre-orders, right?
Yeah.
How much are we gonna order in? I don't know, maybe 20, 30 boxes, right? Like, maybe if we think the set has some potential, maybe 50.
Yeah, because we could usually a set like that, we could always reorder too
Yes,
if we needed.
True, yeah, we actually don't even need to order a lot up front. But say all of a sudden now, day of release comes and everybody, like, you know, found some crazy chase card in the set and 100 people show up at our door. We order 20, 30. Well, our customers are gonna miss out, and we're also gonna miss out as a business in terms of, you know, capturing that demand and, you know, being able to operate as a business by selling product, right? Like, we're not going to order 100 of something without any data. And, you know, we need to have some reasonable expectation of being able to sell through that product and turn it over to be able to buy more products. So by pre-ordering with us, it really helps us out, guys, right? Like, that's one way you can really support us is if you're going to buy a set, whether it's hot, whether it's not, put that pre-order in, put it in early. It helps us grow, and really it just helps us serve you guys better.
Yeah, for sure. I think win-win situation is the best way to kind of encapsulate that whole experience. So what happens then in situations where we're not doing pre-orders? I know you mentioned we're Journey Together. We're doing a lottery with the tariffs in mind, with kind of like the whole economic climate. Like, what does that look like for our community?
Yeah. So look, I mean, you know, all through this Pokemon supply crisis era, that's what I'm going to start calling it from now. The Pokemon supply crisis era. Okay.
2025.
Starting with Surging Sparks, into Prismatic, into the following drops of Prismatic and Blooming Waters. We've been there, I think we can confidently say, offering some of the absolute best prices on the market.
Yeah, in some cases half of market value.
Yeah, with
Prismatic ETB is $100 when shops across the street were $2
or more, like
two or more.
Even like, yeah, I mean, prices were just crazy elevated. Scalping is rampant.
And if you are one of those watching right now who got our Prismatic at those prices, please drop a comment, let us know that you did, kind of like testify for us that was the reality, because it absolutely was.
Yep. And, you know, now we find ourselves in a situation where that supply problem doesn't seem like it's anywhere near being solved. And we're also taking, you know, a pretty big hit on something like our Magic pre-orders. And, you know, it puts us in a tough position, right? And so we wanted to share with our community kind of more directly that we're in a position that we're going to be bringing our Journey Together stock to the market pretty close to the market price this time.
Still competitive.
Yeah, we'll still be competitive for sure.
To the market.
Right. But, you know, top shelf, we're here for the long run. And we really, in this scenario, we just need to kind of stabilize the business in the short term. And the best way we can do that is work with what we got, and what we have is, you know, definitely a hot set with Journey Together. And yeah, that's kind of our way in terms of what our response is with this tariff situation is, right? Like, we're kind of...
Yeah, I think in an ideal world, obviously, we kind of keep prices below MSRP, and we're kind of back out of this, like, Pokemon craze. Unfortunately, guys, like, the reality of the matter is that tariffs are not, you know, we got to make sure that our guys here at the shop who run the shop do such a good job at it, right? We see, you know, everyone who leaves, you know, fantastic reviews. Like, we got to make sure our guys, like, they got their jobs. They can kind of keep the lights on. We can keep the lights on in the shop. So we're hoping that we can all weather the storm together, right? Like, we're not doing this out of us taking advantage of the opportunity, right? Tariffs and market prices and supply and demand are all, unfortunately, factors that kind of drive things up.
Yeah, and look, we're still going to be prioritizing our local and our loyal, community. We're going to be utilizing that lottery system, right? So everybody will get a fair chance, if they want to get product, to get that product. And only if and when we've kind of served you guys, our community, then we'll start to open up supply, if we have it, to walk-in customers, as well as eventually to our website. And if the market is too hot for you right now, totally understand. If you want to sit this one out, if you have been sitting out Pokemon for a little while because of the crazy market, like, that's totally understandable. Myself personally, like, I'm doing the same. I'm not really participating in the Pokemon market as a consumer, even though, as a business, we literally have the access to the product, but not really partaking there. I am really disappointed kind of with what has led to the market being the way it is. So
but with that being said, Pokemon and Magic are only two of the brands that we carry at Top Shelf, and
Yep.
I've personally seen a lot of members actually kind of pivot, whether permanently or temporarily. Some people have actually taken a hand of Gundams, which is right behind us.
Other trading card games.
Other trading card games.
You guys know what I plug all the time.
Altered, Warhammer, One Piece. A lot of the Bandai, like, these have not been TCGs that have been affected yet, and hopefully never will be, or hobbies. So venture out of that, right? There are options, there are communities, and I think one of the greatest things about the whole Top Shelf experience is, sure, you can go to any shop and grab a Pokemon pack, but if you've been to our trade night, or community days, or Pokemon days, you know how great our members are. And those same members are actually, sometimes it kind of blows my mind, because whether in Discord, on different channels, is like, oh, like, I know this person is on the Pokemon general chat all the time, and to see them in Warhammer or see them on Altered just kind of like makes me happy, because it's the same awesome vibes, but just with a different setting.
Yep.
So great time, I think, to try a different hobby. There's a lot of great hobbies that are still selling at very reasonable prices, and it's might be a great time to expand your horizons.
Yeah. But look, guys, if you are going to be participating in the market and journey together, we're going to be offering competitive pricing regardless. We're here, so hopefully, we can get you the product we need, because we're gonna have product regardless, and it's gonna be there. It's your call, and yeah, we're in it for the long run. There's many more Pokemon generations to come. Hopefully, this supply problem is almost nearing the end. Pokemon announced they're gonna be printing a lot.
Hopefully.
I don't know if that translates to reality. It hasn't yet, but I'm optimistic, and yeah, let's see.
Yeah, so let's keep our spirits high, everyone. Continue the conversation, whether in the comments below or join our Discord. Like I said, like, Jan and I are both very, very active. Probably like the two most active out of the shop.
It's hard to keep up these days.
It's hard
man.
to keep up, right? But we try our best, and we'll see you there. And hopefully the next video that we have is going to be a more exciting update. But us, we're always going to keep the conversation going, whether in person, online, offline, whatever it may be. So
yeah, if you guys have any questions, let us know, please.
Yeah,
happy to elaborate more.
Perfect.
All right, guys.
Bye, guys.
Take care.